From Rebel Wolves comes the first chapter of a brand new role-playing saga, The Blood of Dawnwalker. 14th century Europe. Bloody conflicts sweep the lands, and the Black Death comes for the survivors. In the wake of the disasters claiming thousands of lives, the decimated human population struggles for survival. It's a moment of weakness, and that's all they needed. Vampires seize their opportunity. They walk out of the shadows and claim what they've been denied for centuries: freedom and power that comes with it. Other creatures of the night follow their lead. Legends turn into reality, and history as we know it will never be the same. You play as Coen, a young man turned into a Dawnwalker, forever treading the line between the world of day and the realm of night. Fight for your humanity, or embrace the cursed powers to save your family. Whatever your choice, the question stands: is your soul worth the lives of those you love? Combine vampiric strength with human resolve. Face your foes, be they human, monster, or the ticking clock itself. But remember, the real evil may bask in the sun's light, and the most loyal of allies could lurk under the cover of night. Decide which path to follow and whom to trust in Rebel Wolves' narrative sandbox. The time period in the trailer shows it takes place around AD 1347, somewhere in the Carpathians. It is set in the 14th century medieval Europe. We see a man named Coen carrying his little sister Lunka. He's running away from his home, which has been set on fire by a man and his army. He continues to run and ends up in what looks like a broken down church. The group of men track him down. The leader says there's some type of plague around the land, and everyone who succumbed to it must be eliminated, including Coen's little sister, Lunka. These men are then attacked by a group of vampires and its leader. It's a complete massacre, as the soldiers are no match for the demons of the night. Using incredible powers, the vampires defeat the soldiers very quickly. These vampires have been lurking in the shadows, hiding and waiting for the right moment to strike. Now that humanity is going through war, famine, and turmoil, it is the perfect time for the vampires to emerge and take over the land. Using their incredible powers, no human stands a chance against them. Coen would ask them for help, but the leader has some way of helping, but not in the way Coen is expecting. He would use his powers to put Coen in a trance, as he grabs Lunka, then turning into mist and placing her body down. He cuts his hand and feeds her his own blood. She is forced to drink it, and it turns her into a vampire. You can see the wounds on her forehead begin to heal. She was cured of the plague, but is now doomed to walk the earth as a vampire. This man says he is life, he is death, and everything in between. The leader says he's been watching these valleys, and all he was seeing from the humans is pestilence, famine, and killing. Blood spilled carelessly like water. Things will be different now for all of you. The vampires then feed on the injured man on the ground. Coen is now turned into a vampire. He is seen sliding down the side of a building. His fingers get longer and are used to attack enemies. He can turn into mist, moving from one location to another. During the daytime, he is more vulnerable, while in his human form, he would use a sword against other enemies. Gameplay reveal will be shown during the summer of 2025. The story takes place 2 years after the intro in the trailer video. Coen is not your typical game protagonist. He's not a character that has seen everything. He's more of a young guy who at heart is emotional, who can be vulnerable and honest about his feelings. They also explain how Coen has 2 gameplay modes. During the daytime, you'll play as Coen in his human form. He can fight with a sword. He can use and discover dark magic. But he can be killed by anyone, since he's just a human during this time. At night, he encounters more difficult enemies. That's when you can use his vampire powers, not just for combat, but they can also help you to explore your surroundings. The vampires you face are ones that are trying to take over the world. Their leader is very old but very powerful, a man named Brencis. The story takes place in 14th century Europe, and it's a world in deep crisis. The continent has been ravaged by the plague, then wars, and now famine. During this time, vampires were watching from the shadows, waiting for the perfect time to strike. When humanity is at its lowest, they come out of the shadows, overthrow the feudal lord, and move into their castles. A land ruled by the vampires is not that bad. They defended Coen and his sister and even healed Lunka, compared to the lord that would destroy entire villages to stop the plague. But the vampires still have a dark side to ruling the land. They have something called a blood tax that takes place every week, where it's taken from the old, the frail, the weak. This event can sometimes be traumatizing to some people, and sometimes they don't survive. Humans are protected by the vampires, but they are merely treated as cattle, so you get the chance to choose which path you want to take and which path to avoid. At some point, Coen's family does end up in the dungeons of the vampire lord. As he tries to free them, he will meet people that still support the regime. The challenging aspect to this is Coen has only 30 days and 30 nights to save his family. They have something they call narrative freedom, where players can craft their own experience by choosing the path they want. The magic in the story is more closer to paranormal phenomena than traditional spell casting. It's like the X-Files set in the Middle Ages. The vampire design underwent some changes in the story when compared to the vampires of recent and past legends. What sets them apart is their teeth. In this game, the vampire's teeth keep growing throughout their lives. The older the vampire, the more teeth they have. The vampires we know in other stories are well known to have 2 sharp teeth, but these new ones have a series of needle-like fangs, which is densely grown from their jaws, often emerging from their skulls as they age. The teeth are also used to create other vampires. They pull out a fang and drive it into the heart of its victim, which is a reverse method of how humans would drive a wooden stake through the heart of a vampire. At first, these teeth are not so visible, but they extend as the mouth opens. There's also a bit more story about Coen. While he was working in the mines, he got silver poisoning. This is known to weaken his body, and it also protects him from becoming a vampire fully, so it's both a curse and a blessing. You will also interact with different groups of people across the land, each having their own culture, goals, and aspirations. Ever since Brencis took over, he created a new way of life. He was able to manipulate humans to accepting that vampires were a normal thing. He introduced these blood masses and the punishment of criminals by draining them dry. Brencis took up a new order of things and locked the valley off, so nobody could touch it. While some people liked this new way of life, others would disagree, and they would reach into the depths of forgotten magic, occult, stuff like that. Here's what we know about Brencis, born in the Roman Empire under the name Caeso Berenius Laurentius AD 131. To a noble family who owned massive latifundia, Brencis was destined for greatness. He joined the rank of senators and quickly rose to the top of Roman officialdom, with ambitions to become the next consul. He was on the right track to make it happen. If only he was not turned into a vampire. In a blink of an eye, he fell from the very top of the social ladder to its very bottom, but his hunger for power remained. There's also more info about Coen. Born to a peasant family as the oldest of 4 siblings, Coen's childhood was not easy. He started working in the silver mines alongside his father when he was still a kid. As an intelligent and curious child, he dreamt of adventure and traveling out of the valley, away from his chores and family obligations. He never did. He knows his family needs him to survive and he cannot abandon them. Gaining vampiric powers turns his life upside down and terrifies him. But it also gives him means to become free from the constraints and duties placed upon him.